Eyes are our windows to the world. But if you're anything like me, when you're stressed, your eyesight can become worse. And there are reasons for this, as we will discover with optometrist Sharon Ritchie. But first, I'm going to ask her what it is that stresses her out on a day-to-day basis.
Hi, Tricia. Thanks for inviting me to speak today. On a day-to-day basis, the biggest stress for me really is keeping to time in my diary. You can imagine, and as you know, I've got a very busy clinic and I have to stick to my time slots for my patients. I like to talk quite a lot, not just about eyes, but about all sorts of other things. So I do tend to run over my appointments. Now, it doesn't just impact on me, but it also impacts on the rest of my day. So I go in every day with my focused thoughts and thinking, I'm going to run on time today. And I do sometimes, but more often than not, I tend to overrun. Sometimes it's because it's actually, I need to do more work because I need to treat something or see something or speak to somebody else. But the way that I tend to manage it is just think, I need to give this patient my individual attention, and I don't want to rush things. I need to explain things properly. I always like to make sure that people understand what I mean, what I'm talking about, and just always confirm that at the end, so we're sort of having a good summarize. I often sort of just have a few deep breaths in between times just to calm myself down and before I start again. But every patient has to be treated as an individual, in my opinion. And it's really just a case of deep breaths, plan, start afresh, apologize. In fact, I used to always apologize for keeping people waiting, but now I say thank you for waiting, because I think that it takes the stress off of me, number one, because it makes me feel like I'm not apologizing, because it always starts things off in a sort of bad foot if you have to apologize from the outset. So I think I'm fairly good at dealing with stress in general, but that's one thing that I do have to work at and I do have to work on.
Yeah, it is an interesting one, and I've been one of your patients, haven't I? And
yes.
you take time with people and you do explain everything well, and you make people feel very comfortable too. So it's kind of getting that balance, isn't it? And it's something I have to do with, because I have hourly appointments. So my way of dealing with it might help you, is to set an intention for the session that it's going to be a really great session for that person, and we will finish the session in an hour. Otherwise, it's really easy to just have it continue, and then everything else gets mucked up. And I have to think about, they may not have more than an hour as well. So it's there's a lot of goodness in being able to do that. It's not a perfect technique, but it certainly helps me a lot, because it means my focus is very much on quality and timeliness, and I'm pretty good at it, I think.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
Yeah. So eyesight. What has your eyesight got to do with stress?
So when we are stressed, of course, it affects absolutely everything in the entire body. Your vision, generally speaking, for most people, they just get on with their day. They don't even think about their eyes or their vision. They wake up in the morning, they can see whether they need glasses or contact lenses. It's part of the routine. You pick up your glasses, you put them on, you get on with your day. It's not something that you think about for the most part, which is how it should be realistically. Of course, as you are stressed, everything gets a bit more tense. Your shoulders get up, your neck gets up and things, and your eyesight can start to suffer. In other words, you can feel like you're not seeing as well. And then as soon as you start to feel that, then it's very hard to unsee it. So you start to almost focus on the fact that your vision is not quite as good. Blurry vision is a really annoying thing. And it's just, it almost manifests in becoming more and more problematic just as time goes on, because you can't forget about it because it's constant. I think one of the things that we're very guilty of in this day and age is using too much screens, computers, mobile phones, tablets. We're all device driven completely. And of course, everybody knows that using too much screens actually has an effect on your eyes. It doesn't necessarily make them lazy or weak or anything, but it certainly has an impact on tiring them out. the particular distance that most of our screens are at is slightly further away than normal reading distance, which the eyes just converge in for. And it's not necessarily far distance where your eyes are nice and relaxed. So all the eye muscles have to work really hard to keep focused at screens. And if you're stressed anyway, everything, like I say, is you're tense, you're hunched over a keyboard, and you get tired eyes, strained eyes. So that all contributes to the fact that the vision gets less good, it's more blurred, and it's harder to keep focused. There's other things that of course happen when you're stressed and adrenaline starts to go, and we've all heard of the fight or flight response when the body produces more adrenaline. And as the body produces more adrenaline, it actually dilates the pupil. And what that does is causes more sensitivity to brightness and light. And in normal circumstances, your pupils react normally. But again, if you're using a device that's bright, then that can make the vision feel really hard. And it feels the eyes, you just want to go away and have a break, which is exactly what you should do.
So, wow, there's a lot in there, isn't there? So I hadn't thought about the dilated pupils part, and I hadn't realized so much that the strain of the eye is in one position so much. And you see, so I travel to London as you do, and the people are just glued to their tablet, to their phones as well, aren't they? So apart from obviously people managing their stress in the ways that I would teach them, and you know, the techniques that we've found on this show, what are the other things that people can do from an eye perspective specifically that would help them?
So the key thing is to take regular breaks from the computer screen or the device, or not be too focused on it for too long. And that's advice that goes back to since the very beginning of using computers and things. And in recent years, probably in the last 15 years, there's been a rule that they quote called the 20-20-20 rule. Yeah. And of course, 2020 is synonymous with vision anyway, but 20-20-20 rule it states that for every 20 minutes of screen time, you should have a 20-second break looking at something 20 feet in the distance or 6 meters. So it's one of those things that we should all be doing. Probably none of us actually do it, but it just gives those eye muscles a break from being engaged at that position and actually just relaxes them. And I often say to people, you know, if you, depends on your setup, lots of people are working from home now, so they maybe don't have the right sort of setup of their desks and things like that, or they don't have the same exposure to take breaks or go and make a coffee or go to the washing machine. So I often say just look up to the ceiling and just give your eyes a bit of a break from just being at that sort of particular distance as well. It really does help. Yeah. So that's really one thing, you know. Yeah. Other things like keeping yourself well hydrated, of course, as well, keeps the eyes hydrated, and that's very important. And again, when you're sitting concentrating, you're busy at doing a task in hand, we all forget to do it. So it's the same thing, you know, it's important to try and remember to do these things. Yeah, I think the hydration is one of my things, so I always have a glass of water next to the computer, but I'm actually really thirsty now, and I know that's all I've got left, and I've got to go to get myself some more. But I usually have a big bottle as a reminder, but my eyes will get really you know, I want to do that a lot, but also my brain feels very sluggish. Yeah. And that's how I know that I just need to rehydrate myself. But there's actually something, I love the 20-20-20 thing, but there is also a little product which I was recommended, which is a spray that you spray over your eyes. And I thought, there is no way that will work. Well, I can't believe it, but I was wrong. That never happens. So yeah, it really works. What's the product called again? It's called Clarimist. There's different brands. There's Clarimist or iLogic. Optrex have their own brand as well. Optrex, that's one I've got, yeah. Yeah. So you put it on your eyelid, and somehow it does work. So how does that actually work? So the mechanism for the tear film in general is made up of 3 components. So you've got a watery layer, which is the obvious one. You've got a thicker mucousy layer that gives it some substance, and you've got an oily layer that keeps it all onto the corneal surface. So every time you blink, you create a new clear tear film. in theory, if everything is fine. So by producing new normal tears every time you blink, then everything's optimized and the tear film's nice and clear, the vision's nice and clear, you don't have dry eyes. But if you are not blinking as much as you should be, which is exactly what we all do when we're at the computer or any screen, then the blink rate reduces, and therefore you're not producing as much oils into the tears. The tear film evaporates, the vision then gets blurred. So the mechanism for the spray is actually quite oil-based, it's quite oil-heavy. And if you spray on the closed eyelids, it gives you an extra layer of oils into the tears every single time you blink. So it's drip feeding throughout the day into the tears. So it gives you more consistency and is almost replacing your natural oils in the tears to an extent.
It's really clever. And for women who are concerned, as I was, that A, it wouldn't work, and B, it would ruin your eye makeup. A, it does work, and B, it doesn't ruin your eye makeup.
Great product.
You feel refreshed right away, don't you? It's kind of a bit of a miracle, really.
Exactly. It's like one of those facial mists. It feels really good, the facial mist for your eyes.
Oh, that's really terrific. Thank you very much. I hope everybody's found that helpful, as I have. As always, you're very, very good at what you do. I always ask my guests if there is a book that they've found really helpful, perhaps inspiring or enlightening or comforting or something like that, that might benefit others too. And you've got a particular book in mind, haven't you, Sharon?
I do, I certainly do. My book is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse.
That's a good book, yeah.
This is, I got it as a gift from a very good friend of mine when I was going through a really tough time. And it just really warms my heart, and every time I talk about it I do this movement because it just really, I just love it. It's a very simple book, it's got hand drawings, and it tells a story about these animals and the boy that go through their journey together. And it just, every time I open it, whatever page it is, it just speaks to me. And I just think that it's such an important, lovely book to have in your life. And it just, whatever your situation is, whatever you're going through, it's a really nice one to just open. And if I just open it at one of my favorite quotes, which actually is very fitting for today, it says, "To be honest, I often feel like I have nothing interesting to say," said the fox. "Being honest is always interesting," said the horse. And I thought, because I'm talking to you today, you find it interesting, hopefully, and everybody else does too, I hope. So yeah, I'd have to remind myself that I have interesting things to say.
Yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed our conversations. That's interesting. So that book to me, and I've got the book and I have given it out as gifts as well. To me, it's just like a little hug, a moment of hug, isn't it? It really, really is. So if you ever feel low, just open it and you just feel like you're getting a hug, which is a boost of oxytocin, which is good for us all.
Indeed, indeed.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your help, Sharon, today. I'm sure that people will have found that useful. And if you have, do please like and share. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do that too. Thank you very much, and you take care now.